LA, I don't know if you know this, has the highest population of catfish in the entire world, including the Pacific Ocean. Girls are so easily manipulated by fake clout. I can't believe it.
Oh, what do you do for a living? They're like, oh, I'm a model. It's kind of a red flag if that's all they say. And like, this may be a hot topic. Yeah. Social media has all these people walking around like they're not losers. A lot of people, they understand that they can negotiate with their realtor, but people don't realize that you can negotiate with your loan officer. Men don't chase women anymore. Dating in LA it's like a whole can of worms because, like I said, the culture is very superficial. If you're not aware of why the culture is toxic and the ways that it's toxic, you will succumb to it and you'll kind of become a part of the toxic wagon wheel of like what we have going on socially in LA. You either have daddy's money or a sugar daddy or you're doing OnlyFans. She's just raw like dogging it.
Placed over the top. I was like, you live like this? I thought you were in mansions or blah, 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 like all this stuff.
I think that's also why the younger generation is so easily manipulated into thinking like whatever they're told. They don't think.
She knows they're fake.
And they were like, is this crazy? Like all of these everyone in their 20s is married and they're all cheating on each other and they know about it.
Or you come to LA where there's narcissists, there's fake people, there's sociopaths, there's sugar daddy. I have two. They're kind of like life hacks. One protects me from the catfish. One protects me to see if a girl's hooking up with other guys too. They're both genius strategies.
Okay, tell me.
So I have this secret strategy, eliminates 100%
It's not so secret anymore.
The people who come to LA all of a sudden start to realize that they could show who they really are within themselves. What you're seeing is not real.
Yeah.
You know, don't get trapped. This is not real.
Yeah. Even evolutionarily, women date up always.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us and hope you continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. I'm Mohammed Malay here with my incredible co-host, Zach Evans, and our special guest of the day, Audrie. How's it going?
Good.
Please introduce yourself, where you're from, how old you are, what do you do, etc., etc.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Audrie. I'm 21 years old. I'm originally from a small town in Northern California. I moved out to Southern California about 3 or 4 years ago. So I really like it here. There's definitely a lot more action, a lot more opportunity, a lot more business things going on here than my small hometown. So I'm happy to be here. But it's definitely was a culture shock when I first moved down here a little bit, especially in LA itself, West Hollywood, downtown, like any of the nightlife here, anything like that. But yeah, a lot more action, a lot more going on. And I'm absolutely loving living here. For the most part.
For the most part. What did you say you do?
Oh, yeah. I'm a realtor and a loan officer. I also do some runway modeling.
That's awesome. And so when did you get your license?
So I got my real estate license right when I turned 18. I did the schooling for it when I was 17. So a few days after I turned 18, I went and I took the test. I passed. And then I think about a year or so later, I got my NMLS license to be a loan officer. And then kind of during all that time, I was doing some freelance modeling, nothing crazy. I didn't get into runway until I think the middle to beginning of last year. Yeah.
So you started doing real estate and then you started doing the loan part. Now you do both?
Yeah. It goes hand in hand too because...
Right. So a client comes to you, you essentially just be like, hey, this is the house, and then I'll get you a loan. Yeah,
it's cool because for clients, I can help them by, sort of like if I do both, I could say, hey, I'll give you like a discount or credits, if you want to do both through me. So it kind of is mutually beneficial in the sense that I get to double in the deal in that sense, and then they can save some money.
What's this discount?
It depends. I will say I can beat...
I want some discounts.
In the past, I've been able to beat almost any other loan officer's rate. So if I meet someone, they're like, oh, I'm in the process of getting pre-approved. I'll say, oh, what's your rate? And whether they know, sometimes they don't even know. They don't even know the rate they're getting pre-approved. They're like, oh, I'm already pre-approved. And I'm like, what's your rate? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, that's a red flag. You should know that. Your loan officer should be able to tell you, even though the rates change every day.
Right.
So it's hard to pinpoint, like maybe some days have passed, but you should have an idea. And a lot of times people don't.
But the discount mostly comes from your percentage of the real estate license aspect of it, right?
The discount,
essentially what you charge.
Yeah, exactly. Because whether you're helping someone buy or sell, it depends. So you could give like credits or, just charge like a less percentage of the deal. And it's the loan aspect that I can really help people on, because a lot of people, they understand that they can negotiate with their realtor, but people don't realize that you can negotiate with your loan officer. So when people go to a realtor to get pre-approved or to find a house or to sell, let's say buying a house, because that's when you would need a loan officer. Their loan officer refers them to, or the realtor refers the client to their loan officer. Right. And they don't realize that there is some, not negotiation, but there's things going on there too. They don't realize. They're like, oh, give you all my information, you pre-approve me, and it's a done deal. What they don't realize is you actually can and should shop around. A lot of people do know you should shop around for rates, but a lot of people don't. It's not as common knowledge of like, shopping around for your realtor and figuring out someone who, charges a certain amount, whatever the case may be. So I like to ask people if they're in the process of, buying a house, like what's your rate? And if you don't know it yet and you're in the process of getting pre-approved, let me know what your loan officer is going to charge. And I'm going to see if I could beat that rate. And most of the time I've been able to. Nice.
As far as the modeling is concerned, so do you currently work with an agency with the real estate stuff, or is it just you're doing it solo?
So whether you have a real estate license or an NMLS license, you do have to hang your license under a brokerage, right, unless you are a broker. So there's not really a benefit to becoming a broker unless you want to employ other people, and or if it's like your full-time thing and it's really serious for you, you don't want anyone over you. I guess that's another reason you might want to become a broker, but you have to hang your license under someone. But that doesn't mean that you're, an employee of that brokerage. You're still working for yourself. Or it can be a scenario where you're an employee and they're paying you for certain hours. It just depends on your setup, whether you're making commission only or if you're making hourly. It just depends.
So as far as the modeling is concerned, I feel like there's a massive contrast between the two career paths.
It's different. I definitely do modeling more as a fun side thing. It's not something I take seriously. It's very superficial. And I find that there's not much money in modeling, and you'll realize that very quickly. Right. So a lot of these girls, it's funny because a lot of these girls in LA who they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? They're like, oh, I'm a model. It's kind of a red flag if that's all they say. And like, this may be a hot topic because you either have daddy's money or a sugar daddy, or you're doing OnlyFans, because if you're only a model, I can guarantee I do runway, like I do print. That's not paying all the bills if you're living in LA. We all know it's expensive here. So yeah, aside from that, that's why I don't usually tell people I'm a model, because it's really just a fun thing for me. I work in real estate. That's my career. And yeah, it's fun, and it's very superficial. And the people, like the models, are so catty and so mean to each other, and designers and a lot of these shows, they have very little regard for the model's time and their energy. It pays very little. So, we have all these Hollywood strikes going on right now, but the models are also getting royally screwed over in many ways and paid practically nothing, if anything. A lot of people are just, doing a lot of things for free, just for the exposure and the experience. So it's a very interesting industry. So it's not something I take seriously at all. For me, it's just so fun. And I don't delve too much further into it than that.
Yeah, well, you're young, so it's one of those things where it's just like, right now you can do it, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense.
It is crazy, like, because it is a big red flag. If I see a girl, oh, I'm a model, I'm like,
what kind of model?
You live in Beverly Hills in this mansion. I'm like, I never see you doing runway shows. You're not getting flown out to New York for Gucci, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but you live in a mansion. But then the flip side, this is a crazy story. So I dated this girl a couple years back. This is remember when like TikTok was first blowing up? Everybody was just blowing up on TikTok. Like, doesn't matter. Oh, you're a hot girl. You like wink in the camera. Boom, 100,000 followers, right? She was like big on TikTok. Mansions. You see her at mansions. Yachts. She was getting traveling. Tulum, Ibiza, all these places. But she would always come to my place to like when we would hang out. So one day I was like, let me go to your place sometime. She lived like, oh, I live in the valley, whatever. I went deep into the valley, like deep. I don't even know what city it was. There was like like feral children scurrying around in the sewers. There was like graffiti all over the place. I was like, you live here?
She's like living this double life.
Yo, it's crazy. I went into their house. I was like, oh, give me the tour. She was like, blah, blah, blah. Here's the blah, blah, blah. Walk into this room. Oh, this is a nice walk-in closet. She's like, this is my bedroom. I look down. There's just a mattress on the floor. No fitted sheet.
She's just raw dogging it.
Placed over the top. I was like, you live like this? I thought you were on mansions or blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff. It was crazy.
It's interesting because social media is so fake like that. And I just like, it's crazy because just like the story you just told, you'll meet people where online they look so cool and this and that, you know, but people have fake followers. Like they're fronting like all these nice cars, like whether they're leased or rentals, only God knows, you know. They're with all these people like, oh, I'm in the Hollywood Hills. But they're in reality, like no one knows the truth. Yeah. Social media has all these people walking around like they're not losers, but they are.
And they're tricking people into you know what's crazy too? Girls are so easily manipulated by fake clout. I can't believe it. I see it. Remember we went out that one time? This girl goes, oh, I just met the owner of the club. He's asking if he can have a drink at your table. I was like, use your brain cells, right? The owner of the club, who owns the entire club,
why would
asking
he ask?
our permission to come to our table? Like, are you dumb or are you stupid or do you not have any brain cells? Like, it's crazy to me.
It's hard, especially because the younger generation, you know, my generation, I don't know how old you guys are, but people in their early 20s, late teens, they grew up with social media. Like they were on the cusp of right when I was on the cusp, you know, I was probably in, I don't know, like middle school when the iPhone came out. And so I got some time without having like a mobile phone. You know, we would play outside, we'd play on the playgrounds. And then just a few years later when everyone had a mobile cell phone, I remember I went back to my old after school daycare to visit, just to check it out years later when I was in high school, and there was no kids playing outside. No one was outside. No one was on the playgrounds. No one was like talking to each other. Everyone was plugged into their phone or an Xbox or the computers. And that was like the very early, that was literally right when mobile phones became, you know, mainstream. So I don't even know how it is now. So it's interesting because I feel like we're just starting to see the ramifications of people who are plugged into a phone or a screen all day being fed information. No one's learning to think for themselves. So no one's learning to think for themselves. They see all this, like real life doesn't matter to the younger generation in the way that they're looking at this all day. This is what matters. How do I make myself look the best and put on a front for other people? You know, and then, but they believe other people's fronts. It's like zero self-awareness, like zero, you know, problem-solving skills, free thinking. I think that's also why the younger generation is so easily manipulated into thinking like whatever they're told. They don't think.
You want to hear a crazy story, actually. Actually, you know this person. I won't say her name on the pod. So this girl, she comes up to me. She's like, oh, I'm dating this new guy. She's kind of like bragging about him, you know. He's like, oh, he's this videographer. He has 500,000 followers. I'm like, damn, that's a lot for a videographer. I'm like, let me check. She's looking at his videos. His videos are okay. You know, they're like good, like, oh, basic color correction, put a filter on it, whatever. I look at his first post, 17 likes, right? 500,000 followers, his next post, 13
People
likes.
Are falling for that.
I told her, I was like, but here's a crazier part. I was like, yo, this guy's followers are obviously fake. Oh my God, I didn't even know. But the crazier part, the next week, I overhear her talking to one of her friends, and she's like, yeah, I'm dating this videographer guy. He has 500,000 followers. She she knows they're fake. She doesn't even care because clout is clout. It like doesn't even matter to girls nowadays. It's insane.
I know. Now you can hide your like count. But I always look. See, like you're saying, people will have all these followers, but it's LA. You know, you got to look at the like count. You got to look at the comment. Even the comments you kind of have to pay attention to because sometimes you could buy likes. There'll be like 4 comments. It's like,
yeah. That's kind of sketch.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no one cares. They just, the minute they open up your Instagram, the first numbers that they see, which is the follower count, they're like, oh, that's such a big deal. It's that first impression. And then they get all giddy and then they're like, I don't care about the rest. But like, yeah, people are falling for that. And I don't know. Yeah, I guess from you guys can see it from like the female end that like girls fall for that. And I know that I think it happens to both genders too, because there's a lot of guys who care about status. Like I know guys who will date, you know, OnlyFans girls and porn stars just because like they're famous online and they're only dating these girls for the clout, but they're like, oh yeah, no future with this girl because of what she does, you know? So it's really just like a really toxic culture. And maybe it's not just LA, maybe it's a little bit magnified in LA because, you know, it's LA. We got Hollywood and whatever. All the TikTokers move here and they get their content houses going. And yeah, it's very superficial. And that's why dating in LA is, it's like a whole can of worms because like I said, the culture is very superficial. If you're not aware of why the culture is toxic and the ways that it's toxic, you will succumb to it and you'll kind of become a part of the toxic wagon wheel of like what we have going on socially in LA. So if you're not smart enough to recognize it off the bat, because when you meet someone in LA, what they're thinking is not, oh, I want to learn about you. I want to be your friend. Like, what do you do? Like, how do we have fun? Like, whatever. They're really just thinking, what can I get out of you? How does hanging out with you benefit me? And are you cool enough to be hanging out with me? And if you're not, and this goes for dating too, friendships, dating, and you know, people just stay single forever. Here they say, or it's just like endless situationships, which I respect because in the South, it's the opposite. So if you go to the South, there's a really strong culture to settle down really young. And there's this immense pressure in the South to not be single. If you're single, people automatically think there's something wrong with you. See, in LA, everyone's single. Everyone's hooking up. Everyone's being sluts. It's really like it's the complete end of the spectrum, and it's gross like in its own way. And then the South is gross the only way because you would think it would be good, you know, may be good that people are like, you know, actually focusing on settling down. Here's the kicker. In the South, so people will date someone that they don't even really like because they feel like they have to. And then they get married because they're on this path that's, you know, the culture down there wants them to be on. And then they all cheat on each other. So you would think that, you know, Southern, you know, maybe stronger values, stronger morals. And this doesn't apply to all areas of the South. You would think that with those values, people would cheat less. That's not the case. I have some of my best friends just moved to somewhere in the South, and they were like, this is crazy. Like all of these everyone in their 20s is married and they're all cheating on each other and they know about it. And like they hate it, they get mad at each other, but like a couple will literally be in the same bar and they'll both be flirting like with their friends. Like it's crazy. So there's like we were saying earlier before we started recording, the answer always lies somewhere in the middle because life's a gray area. Nothing's black and white. So in LA, I feel like we have this really toxic dating and hookup culture. But, you know, even in more like wholesome, you know, Southern areas, high value areas, there's, you know, everyone's, you know, cheating, doing their own things there. So I don't know. It's just might just be the time that we're living in.
I always tell people LA is like, dating wise, it's like playing the video game on hard mode. You know, you have a video game, like it starts up beginner, medium, hard, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you could go to Wisconsin, beginner mode. It's just like, hey, you're cute. Oh, you too. Let's get married. Oh, everything's great. Or you come to LA where there's narcissists, there's fake people, there's sociopaths, there's sugar. LA, I don't know if you know this, has the highest population of catfish in the entire world, including the Pacific Ocean. There were more catfish in Los Angeles in the entire world. But it makes you develop strategies. Like I have two, they're kind of like life hacks. One protects me from the catfish. One protects me to see if a girl's hooking up with other guys too. They're both genius strategies.
Okay, tell me. Explain. Okay. Yeah. Let's get into it.
So if I want to see if I'm seeing a girl, right? Oh, is she hooking up with other dudes, right?
Yeah.
You go to a website, a flower delivery service, right? You get the flowers delivered to her house, but on the tag, instead of putting your name, you just put a smiley face emoji, right? The next day,
never thought about
I'm very
this.
smart. Yeah, I'm very smart. If she calls you, thanks for the flowers, she's only seeing you. If she doesn't, it means she doesn't know, did Zach give me the flowers? Or did this
And
other
she
dude
can't
give me?
ask.
She can't ask because she's going to out herself. So it's like, I use everything to
Wait,
my
how much
advantage.
does that cost? Like, what's your overhead expenses to vet these
Oh,
girls?
maybe. Here's the thing. Because people, what does it cost? But people are short-term thinkers, right? So maybe it costs $60 to send her flowers.
So it just shows that you're trying to get serious, potentially, like, you know, you got to vet them.
Yeah, or I just want to know sometimes, you know what I mean?
Curiosity killed the
Well, but
cat.
technically, on the long run, if he's supposed to take the girl on a date and it's going to cost him $100, $200, $300, but he spent $60 and found out, right? It's sort of win-win. Because if the girl says, "Oh my God, thank you so much," now she's happy, perfect, right?
Yeah.
But if she doesn't figure out who it is and he finds out that she's cheating, then he's not out another $200, $300.
Okay, so how many times have you done this? This is so funny.
Well, it backfired one time. But the other two times
tell.
Okay. So I was seeing this girl, right? I made it very I've told this story like 3 times. Mo's probably bored of this story, but it's a good story.
This story not going to make you look good.
It's not going to make me
Okay, just tell it. It's fine.
Okay.
I don't judge.
So I'm seeing this girl. I make it very clear we're not exclusive. She agrees, we're not exclusive, blah, blah, blah. Everything's good. But we start hanging out a lot, like 3-4 times a week. She's coming over a lot. She starts saying things like, how come you never take me on dates? You never buy me flowers, blah, 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 blah.
She Russian?
No, she's a white girl. And I usually don't end up dating white girls, but it was like
Ironic.
You like them exotic?
You can't say that. I'm going to get canceled. But yes. But so I was like, okay, she's been nice to me. Let me do something nice for her. Go on this website. I'm about to hit checkout to send her the flowers, right? And this little pop-up on the screen comes. And it's like, wait, before you check out, buy one, get one half off. Now, I was raised, be very frugal, fiscally responsible with my money. So I'm like, I want to make use of this discount. So I get 2 flowers, send one to the girl, send one to this other girl that I'm seeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next day, everybody's happy. Oh my God, thanks for the flowers. Oh my God, thanks for the flowers. You know, I'm spreading joy throughout the universe.
So you sent one to your mango and one to your side chick?
First of all, I think
chick.
the term side chick is derogatory. I prefer relationship assistance.
Yada. Okay. Yeah, that's better. I like it.
But also, I told her we're not exclusive, so it's like, it's like
no
a lot
judgment.
of girls are getting flowers. I consider myself somewhat of a philanthropist in this situation, you know. But then, the next day, I was so mad at fucking BMW. I got this new BMW, right? And I'm all pumped about it, but it has this stupid thing in it where it has this little like screen and it Bluetooths your phone directly to the screen. I didn't know this was a thing. Apple Pay, CarPlay, something like that, right? So riding home with the one girl, all of a sudden it's like, boop, new message from the other girl. She's like, who the blah, 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 right? So the whole time she's like suspicious. No. She's like, what's going on? So then 4 a.m, I'm dead asleep, fast asleep.
Did she go through your phone?
I woke up, crazy. Fuck you, blah, 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 blah.
That's crazy. Well, how long were you seeing her?
Probably like 3 months or something.
And you had told her you didn't want to be exclusive?
Yeah.
And so she did not have the right to go through your phone
at all. I agree.
Even, honestly, even like if it's your girlfriend, I think that going through someone's phone, even if it's your boyfriend, behind their back, is an invasion of privacy. But that's crazy.
It gets worse.
Crazy, but that's okay. Continue.
So then I'm like, how did you? I look up. She has my phone, right? Then she takes her phone and she's like, fuck you. She takes a picture of me in bed, then finds the other girl on Instagram because she knew her name from the thing. And then she texts her that picture and then this like long ass message. I have no idea what the she said. She like long ass message and like sent it to her and just like.
Did that other girl ever hit you up?
Did she never
or like tell you what? Okay, she told you what happened. Okay.
So
she's like, yeah, that chick's crazy.
Tell her to send you the screenshot of that message.
I should. The funny part, I got lucky with the other girl. So the other girl,
not crazy.
First of all, we had just started seeing each other, like probably like hung out like twice at this point. And I was like, hey, did you get a DM? She's like, yeah, about that. And then she was like, I would be more mad at you, but that would make me a hypocrite. Kind of implying, she was seeing other guys too, so it kind of made it okay. So it kind of worked out with the other girl. Yeah. But it was
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
okay. It was. And then now give us a scenario where the flower thing worked out, like where you actually figured out, okay, this girl's legit or she is seeing other people.
Yeah, so I did it twice before then. Mm-hmm. One of the times she calls me, oh my God, thank you, blah, blah, blah.
You're like, yes.
Right away, I'm like, we're good.
Okay.
Other time, never called me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I kind of was like, okay, I know where this is, which is fine. I just like knowing. I like knowing.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so you said that was one of your vetting strategies.
Yeah.
Now, what's the other one?
You're talking about the catfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I have this secret strategy, eliminates 100% of catfish.
Not so secret anymore. With
yeah, I'm gonna tell you guys some shit. I should be charging for this shit. So I've only been catfished.
What's the other course?
Another course.
Subscribe.
Sell a course. Yeah. Dating in LA.
Dating 101 in LA, West Hollywood.
Oh, step 1, like literally just kill yourself.
Jesus.
Or leave, yeah.
Just leave, moves anywhere else. So this was back in Wisconsin. This was when Tinder first started. So this was like 10 years ago or something like that. And I was swiping through, right? I ended up matching with this girl. Mm-hmm. I went on the restaurant or whatever. I'm like sitting there waiting. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I see this girl. And she's like 50 pounds heavier than her picture. Like, I get it.
Did you leave?
If you're like 5 to 10 pounds, I get it. But like, she looked like a bowling ball stacked on top of an exercise ball with 2 shoes at the bottom. And I was like, I can't do this
what do you do at that point? Do you run or do you get drunk and commit?
My brain, I did. It was like flight or fight mode. It was like flight or fight. Like, what do I do? Do I run? Do I stay and fight? But the problem was, normally I'd be like, I'll be polite. I'll be a nice guy. But I was looking at her, and I was a broke college kid at this point. And I'm like, I don't know if my bank account can support this kind of food bill that's coming up. So I had turned and I ran, and I just fucking dipped and got out there as fast as I can. So then I thought of this genius strategy. What you want to do, you want to get to the restaurant 15 minutes early, right? You go to the waiter, you say, I would like a glass of still water. Mm-hmm. Now, it can't be sparkling water, can't be water in a bottle, it has to be still water in a glass. You sit there and you pay attention to the water in the glass. And
I know what this is. You're not
funny. Have you seen Jurassic Park? Where the T-Rex comes in every step, it's like, you see that shit shake? You turn and you run. There's a dinosaur coming.
Oh, Lord.
But it's not a T-Rex.
Oh, that's funny. You should do stand-up.
I should do stand-up.
You already have a few good bits.
I already got like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
You can get like 20 minutes on an open mic night.
Yeah. But for real, it is insane.
So show up early, maybe wait in your car and wait till she goes in first so you can scope it out. That's smart.
Yeah, that could work too, but it's not as funny.
But all jokes aside, though, the catfish problem is like a pandemic at this point.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, not just like, I mean, nowadays with AI, you can barely tell. I mean, I feel like in like 5 years, you can't even tell.
Probably
right now, you could kind of tell, but we meet girls all the time that just show up, and I'm just like, okay, dude. Like the filter, makeup on top of another filter. It's like you got like 6 filter on top of each other.
Okay, what's my consensus? You saw my Instagram.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, you look like.
Yeah,
you look like you.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I definitely don't.
And I have this thing where I have to like check multiple photos, and then
no, you gotta go to the tagged, and you gotta go like really deep. Yeah,
you go to tag, you go to videos.
Yeah, you gotta go to tag.
Yeah.
No, I haven't used any dating apps in so long. And the last straw was. So I always heard about guys getting catfished, and I was like, yeah, that sucks. Like, I don't know what, like chicks are thinking with showing up looking completely different, like whatever. You hear about it, but you're like, whatever. When it happens to you, it's different because it doesn't happen to chicks very much because guys aren't sitting there editing their photos. So this was a long time ago, and I was on Hinge, and me and my friend, like we were at a bar, and then this guy I had matched with was like, oh, I'm having some people over. You guys should come over. So we're like, okay, so we went over there and so this guy, so I'm like fairly tall but I actually don't really care about height. Like I don't care if a guy's super tall, even if he's a little shorter, I actually don't care. It's about like confidence and personality. And if you're a gentleman, like that's what it's about for me. And if you're funny, you have to be funny. But anyways, I digress. So on his Hinge, he said it was 5'11". That's like 3 inches taller than me or something. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Not that I care, but that's what I was like expecting. And he was pretty good looking. So we get out of the Uber and he walks up. This guy's like 5'5".
That's crazy.
I'm not even kidding. Because, like, you know, guys will kind of stretch their height a little bit.
2 inches, okay.
Yeah, like 1 or 2.
It's kind of like, you know how people say, you know.
What your height is on your driver's license?
Yeah, with guys, like, yeah, usually they'll add like 1 or 2 inches. So, you know, if he was shorter, like, that's to be expected. But I'm not even kidding. He was like, I don't know, like, what he was trying. If he was trying to maybe, like, bypass girls who filter out height. You know how a lot of, like, short girls will still filter, like, oh, I want a guy who's 5'10" or 5'11" above. Because girls are so picky. So maybe he was trying to bypass that and still get shown.
Yeah, because you said he's good looking. So what he was probably trying to do. He wasn't good looking either?
He was okay. He was okay.
But he was
better
good
be
looking
really funny.
He wasn't. If he had like come through with like the best jokes, I would have, but it would have probably been fine. But it was not fine. It was not fine at all. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with dating apps. Like this is bad. Yeah. And he like tried to kiss me. I was like, oh, like we gotta go.
He was like,
abort mission.
Code red. We got a code red.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's like a whole foot that you're lying on. That's like almost a foot. Yeah. Like that's crazy. And that's the thing about dating apps. See, like the reason I hate dating apps is so dating in today's day and age is hard because when you, let's say like you get out of a relationship, either whether you were the one that broke up with them or whether they were the one that broke up with you, it actually doesn't matter. What a normal person would do throughout history is they think, why did that relationship not work? What did they do wrong? What did I do wrong? How can I improve? What can I do differently to maybe either get them back or, you know, what can I do differently for the next relationship? But today it's different because when you get a relationship, I'm going to go on, you know, what they think is I'm going to go on Tinder. I have unlimited options. I'm fine. I'm not the problem. You're the problem. You know, all these very average people, men and women, are thinking that they're so much more high value than they are. And that's a problem. You know, no one's getting out of a relationship and thinking, oh, how can I improve myself? They're just like, let me hop on a dating app and start getting instant gratification again. They don't let themselves go through the motions and experience either the sadness or the self-reflection, the self-awareness. Like no one has any of that anymore because they can put up this fake front on social media. They can download dating apps and have 50 people in their messages by the end of, you know, the week. It's like, it's really bad. It's really toxic. And that's why, you know, no one's really actually getting together and staying together. And if they do, you know, that's amazing. That's great. That's how it should, you know, like that's how it should be. But there's a difference between focusing on yourself and wanting to further your career and, you know, not have to worry about someone else's emotions and needs and whatnot. Like that's a fine reason to stay single. But so many people are also just staying single just because they think that they're so much better than they actually are. They're not really bringing much to the table. And not to mention, you know, we have so many, like men's testosterone levels are much lower than they used to be. There's so many hormone disruptors like in our food and our environment, like women are going infertile. Like people are so out of whack because of the screen time and just what we're eating and how our, you know, bodies are changing. You know, I think since the 1970s, men's testosterone has been lowering like almost a percentage every year. So the level of testosterone in young men's bodies today is nothing like what it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, nothing. You know, and it's interesting too, because men don't chase women anymore either. Like if you go to the bar, any of the attractive, I mean, I guess the LA clubs might be different. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't go clubbing enough to say. But if you just go to a bar with some friends, you know, I'd say like 20 years ago, I imagine guys are coming up like, oh, you know, how are you doing? They're actually trying to talk to the girls. Guys don't really do that much anymore, not like they used to. And it's also because people are much more antisocial because of social media. But it's also, you know, all these women today have such high expectations. They're like, I want a guy who's over 6 foot. He needs to make 6 figures. He needs to do this, that, and the other. And that's a very small percentage of the male population. So you have all of these beautiful women, so many beautiful women, especially in LA. Not saying that they're beautiful on the inside, but they're certainly beautiful on the outside. We have a high concentration of very attractive women here. But all these women are competing for the small percentage of men. And so men who can have like a different flavor of ice cream every day of the week, why would they settle?
Well, they're not competing. That's what the problem is. They're just waiting. And men are realizing that like you're bringing nothing to the table aside from what's outside.
Yeah. I think a lot of them are just sitting around waiting, and that's kind of why they stay single, but women are kind of making the first moves now. But that which may
Who are these women?
I don't know. I see it like women approach. I must say, because I live in Orange County, so LA may be a little bit different. I know you guys go clubbing a lot. I don't go to the clubs, so
You should take a drive.
We should check it out.
Yeah, the clubs in LA, it's I don't know. I don't know about the clubs, but it's a little bit of a different animal to Orange County and to everywhere else in the country. LA is just its whole own ball game. But I don't know. I'd say I wouldn't want to really I'm not actively trying to date anyone here.
See, that's what the problem is.
Well,
But that what you just said is majority of women. And that's what they say. But
it's men too.
Well, of course, because men become that way after they go up to so many women and they're like, oh, like, you know, I'm not really looking for anything. And then after a while, the guys are like, okay, well, I guess nobody's looking for anything. Then why should we be looking for anything?
You know, it's a mix of that, but it's also for you men going around to these women in LA, the women here are like, I don't mean to be a hypocrite or anything, but the women here, like, if I was a man, I would not date a chick from LA. Like, maybe casually, you know, but dating to marry, I'm not opposed, like, if the right person came along, but I'm not actively going out looking.
Let me explain something here. There's this false notion that people in LA are somehow any different than people from other places. And
people
the reality
are people.
of people are people. And people who come to LA, and we've had this conversation before where I said to them, the people who come to LA all of a sudden start to realize that they could show who they really are within themselves.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because the culture in LA is like, be yourself, do whatever the you want, don't care about anything, don't care about anyone. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
Me, right? And so people come from East Coast, from South, from wherever the
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I could be like this. I'll be myself. Their true self comes out. Yeah. And so even when they move back home, they're still that person. That didn't change.
So this is interesting. So it's a mix of, you know, maybe their true selves, but is it always their true self, or is it just because everyone has some good and evil within them, and you're always a product of your environment, and who you are is who you roll with. So if everyone's being self-centered, because we all have that within us, then are you going to become self-centered?
I don't believe that at all.
Start showing more of that side.
I don't
it's
believe
almost
that
like
at
a
all.
Lord of the Flies situation.
Mm-hmm. You attract people based upon who you are as a person.
That's true.
We have had friends who are no longer really close friends with us because our values don't align.
Yeah.
So you slowly start to realize that, oh, like this person doesn't really meet the criteria in a friend that I'm looking for. So I'm not going to be friends with them anymore. But the people who are actually going to attract that type of an energy, you know, whether it's negative or positive, is because of who they are as a person.
Right.
You know, and some people are just submissive and like don't know who they are as a person. And so all of a sudden they fall into a certain circle and they become that person as a result of the way that they sort of take in other people's personalities. So there is a mixture of both, yes, but majority of the time you are who you are and you just end up attracting who you are.
I definitely was talking about the submissive type of people who seek validation from their environment. So whether like they'll roll with whoever, whether it's, you know, someone who benefits them or not, or someone who's easy to hang out with, someone who's available. And because I've seen it a lot, especially with young girls, is they completely change into someone, like from a really sweet, nice girl into someone who's just like not a good person. So was it within them the whole time? Probably. But would it have come out if they didn't start rolling with anybody who would have them around in LA? You know, and that can happen anywhere. That's very true. So I definitely was referring to the more submissive type of people who will mold themselves to the people that they roll around with. Yeah. But yeah, we all have our core values, and the universe has a way of putting amazing people together because that's who you attract, you know, and you definitely like seek those people out inadvertently.
Yeah. Cause like the bottom line is like, you know, we just met, right? And if our values and opinions and the way we look at the world don't align, right? After this, we're probably not going to be friends, right? Yeah. But if they do, then we'll probably be friends. And that's just, and obviously as older you get, time becomes much more valuable. So the, you know, your circle becomes smaller and shrinks into the type of people you really want to spend your time with. And if that's if you are a type of person who values time, really. We're not the same. You know, we have a lot of like different opinions on you know, different things, but our core values of like who we are as a person,
the importance,
which is like being a good person, you know, doing the right thing when the time comes, you know, treating people well, you know, all this stuff, the core values, we think the same, it aligns. So that's why we're friends. So as far as relationships are concerned, especially when it comes to the people that you know tend to sort of just like walk away, right? And why relationships don't last as long as they used to is mainly because people, well, aside from the fact that they think they have, you know, better options, you know, grass is greener on the other side, has become extremely toxic, but also the fact that hardship has, and especially, I mean, more so in Gen Z that I've seen, they feel that, oh, like I don't have to go through a hard time because once I'm in a relationship, I've been happy for a couple of years. Now getting tough, right? Now the true test has come in, and it's like, oh, I don't have to do this. I'll just like break this up, go to another relationship for another 2 years, be happy, and so on and so forth, and just continue the same routine. So, and unfortunately, you'll end up, you know, being with people who just can't handle going through a relationship for a long time, and it's like you're constantly just repeating the same patterns. And as you meet people, you're like, okay, well, I mean, I can't catch a break here. What am I going to do? You know, so on the other end, men are getting discouraged to like even date long term because you know they're going to break up with you.
What's interesting too, I think a lot
that happens to women too. Men recycle too. Like women are recycling because they don't want to deal with the hard stuff that comes along. Men do that too. So it's definitely interesting hearing it from the male perspective. Because I do think that it's a culture of, you know, people think they have unlimited options, dating apps and like, you know, the high population, whatever, especially women, because, you know, women are always being chased. So women definitely think they have like more options than, you know, they actually do, because superficial attraction doesn't always translate into like, okay, I'm going to get along with you with your core values. So yeah, that's really interesting.
And I think too, it's like, it is one thing that helped me like understand kind of why girls are the way they are and have some like sympathy for it is like one of my female friends, right? She's like attractive, but not like even like, this is a couple years ago, not even like model level attractive. She's just like cute, you know, like basic attractive. She showed me her phone. It was like one day, it was like 15 texts of guys inviting her out. Then you go to her Instagram, her DMs are just like all these sugar daddies, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes to her Hinge. There's a bunch of, it's like, I understand more why girls are like flaky or like don't respond. I'm like, it's almost like a full-time job, like managing your inbox, especially if you're the type of person who like gives your number out more. And you do have like so many options, or like you said, maybe perceived options of guys who don't even like you that much. They're just trying to hook up. But then you see that guy with the yacht and he's rich and he's attractive, six-pack. You're like, oh, that could be me. So this guy who's more average, but he's better for me in the long run, I'm going to like push him to the curb, you know?
Yeah.
Well, what they need to do is what I do essentially with Instagram, which is whenever I pull up my Instagram and I see pictures of females, every single time I look at one, I'm like, not real. just have to remind myself, not real. Filter, makeup.
Angles,
this angles.
Men are evolving,
photos.
being able to see it. Yeah,
We're evolving. Yeah, we're like,
But
brains
it's
are
crazy
changing.
though. That I have to remind. I have to physically
yes.
remind myself that like what you're seeing is not real.
Yeah.
You know, don't get trapped. This is not real.
Yep.
Don't think like this is, oh my God, this is the most beautiful. She's not real. Does not exist. Does not exist. Does not exist. It's insane.
And actually, you doing that is a really good trait, because a lot of men, especially younger guys, they don't know that yet. They don't see that yet. So like all these younger guys they're bombarded with so many beautiful women on their feed all day, but it is mostly fake. And, you know, and then people are watching so much porn. Like you can watch so much adult pornography and see like more beautiful women in an hour than like a king, you know, over a huge empire like 200 years ago could see like in his whole lifetime. And I think that there's like a very toxic aspect to that too. But yeah, a lot of men aren't realizing how fake this is. So they see girls in real life around them. They're like ugly, 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 ugly. But they don't realize that those are just normal looking girls, and that social media is really fake, which it all leads back into like we're living in this fake reality land that people are so sucked into, men and women.
Yeah. What is what would you consider a high value man?
Someone who, for me, the biggest thing is honesty, which is actually harder to find, like, because there's people who lie about important things and they're honest about small things. There's people who lie about small things but they're honest about bigger things. There's people who are both. I'd say especially for me, honesty is really important. It's not about how much money you make at all, because a lot of girls think it's that. It's not. It's about your goals, like how hard you work. And like, even if you're like just a server at some restaurant, if you have goals in place and like a plan to execute that, that's what's important. If you have like the drive, the work ethic, you know? So I would say good morals, because that's getting harder and harder to find. Maybe that's not true, but it seems like it. Good morals, and then someone who cares a lot, like someone who's not super greedy and self-centered. So it really just depends. And for me, you have to be funny. Like you've said that like 4 times, and I think so important to me.
That's the only part of what you said that I actually believe. And I'm not saying that you're, and I'm not saying that I think you're lying, but I think it's become extremely difficult to believe women when they say they want something, because there are 3 different aspects to this. There is what women say they want, what women think they want, and what women actually want when they are out and about and getting hit on, or they see someone. And so when you and being so different in every single one of those aspects, it becomes practically impossible to figure out what the right thing is. So as men, all we have to do is just really try and like do our best to try to attract the way that we think they would be attracted.
Right, of course. It's just evolution, you know, the law of attraction, trying to find a mate. But for me, like I don't need, like, I don't know which part of what I said that you don't believe.
It's not that I don't believe it. It's like what I'm
I don't
thinking.
need to date a rich guy at all. For me, it's about
see that
chemistry.
part of it. I don't believe you. Like you say that, and what I'm thinking to myself is,
but you're also like sucked into this LA culture of like women. That's like what they care about so much. And like literally the last guy, I make more money than the last guy I dated.
But
like,
you stopped dating him though.
About.
And that's one thing.
But that's not. But that doesn't mean it was about money.
Sure, possibly, yeah. for sure. But you seem like a successful. But you 100%. That's why I said I don't know, right? And so the believing part of it is like, oh, like at some point it comes down to people having to, you know, your track record speaks for itself, type of thing, you know. But you're 21, so you're young. And you're still kind of like figuring out, oh, who I like, who I don't like, all this stuff.
Right.
As mature as like you sound, the reality of it is you're probably going to grow into new things as you get older.
Of course.
Right. And so the whole financial aspect of it is like one of those things where it's like you're saying that right now, but you are a type of person who comes off as like you're only going to go up the ladder and you're going to become successful just because of the way your demeanor and like, you know, your knowledge of things. And so, and you know, we had this conversation before with regards to like finances and like how much knowledge you have in that aspect. And it becomes difficult for me to, and that's what I was saying, which is like what you say you want, what you think, and then what you actually will end up, accepting.
Yeah, I can see that.
So in that aspect, right now you're like, okay, you know, I'll be fine with a guy who has goals and ambitions and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, and listen, we'll talk in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to end up being in a place where you would be like, I did they got that guy that was, you know, ambitious and had goals and all that stuff, but the goals were too small for me.
And I see what you're saying, because I think also naturally, even evolutionarily, women date up always. Usually, not always, usually. Women, like, whether it's status or money, they want a guy who at least is doing more than they are. So yeah, I see what you're saying for sure. And you're probably right. You know, I'm so young, you know, like
right.
what you do, what you think, who you are changes so much every year. So yeah, that makes sense.
And that's also another biggest aspect of it is like people do change. You know, I had a conversation with my ex a while back. When we met, she was 19, and we have like a 10-year age difference. So I was 29, she was 19, and one of the main things I said to her, she always was like, yeah, like, you know, I see myself, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, all this stuff. And I looked at her one time and was like, we'll see. And she was like, what, you don't believe me? I was like, well, I know you say that right now, but the reality of it is you're just 19 years old. You're gonna probably change.
Yeah.
You know, that's
yeah,
just,
you're like, I believe that you believe that right now.
And I'd be delusional to think to myself that like, oh, like you're not gonna change. You are going to change. You know, it would be just stupid of me to think otherwise. And she was like, yeah, but like, I was like, but there are two ways for you to change. You're either gonna change for the better or for the worse. And so we'll see. I can't, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. Can't tell the future, but
yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I also think too, I got an argument with my mom about this a little bit ago. And she's like, because the last 3 girls, well, the last 4, if you consider OnlyFans modeling, the last 4 girls I dated all did modeling. And my mom's like, Zach, you date models, like you should go more for personality. She's like from Wisconsin, you know?
Yeah, that is self-explanatory. She's from Wisconsin.
Yeah. So I was like...
You're like, Mom, you don't get it.
I was like, Mom, I'm about to destroy your entire argument in one fell swoop because I'm smarter
Lord,
than you.
Let's hear it.
So I was like, okay, Mom. So you want me to date ugly girls? Oh, no, not ugly girls. Just you should focus on personality, blah, blah, blah.
Homely.
So I'm like, okay, Mom, do you think there exists really beautiful girls with great personalities? Well, yeah, of course, right? Okay, so if I had the choice between a beautiful girl with a great personality or an ugly girl with a great personality, like, of course I'm going to choose the beautiful one. Like, they both have great personalities. And I think for girls, it's the same way. A lot of times girls get labeled like gold diggers, you're in it for the money. But I'm like, okay, there's like rich guys with good personalities or like poor guys with good personalities. Like, if I was a girl, I would choose the rich guy with the good personality too. Or at least, like you were saying, like on the up and up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think like Marilyn Monroe said it best in that one movie she did. She's like, said something like, a girl being pretty is like a guy being rich. You know, like it's not the deciding factor of like marrying you, but it helps.
Yeah, no, that's true. That is true.
So I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like Marilyn Monroe.
I also think too, it's like everybody does care about money to some extent. Like my
you have to some extent. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was talking to this one girl and she was like married to one of my friends. And she's like, yeah, I don't care about money at all. I'm like, really? So if you would have met my friend and he was a homeless man under the bridge, like, would you have dated him? Well, no. Okay, what if he was cashier at McDonald's, lives in his mom's basement? I don't care about moving up at McDonald's. I'm just going to be a cashier. Okay, I wouldn't have dated him then. Okay, what if he had like a nice normal office job, makes $60K a year? Oh yeah, I'd be fine with that. Okay, so everybody has a bar.
There's a level.
Somewhere,
yeah.
Some girls it's a millionaire. Some girls it's a thousandaire. Some girls it's less, you know, like depending what level you're at. But
yeah,
I think it does matter.
Honestly, majority of the time it's just because
He's passionate about this topic. He's passionate. He's hardlined on this one.
It's just crazy.
That's because we always make
me.
fun of him with his Android. We always call him Poria.
No, on the way here, I was like, I was struggling with the address. I was like, can you just drop a pin? And I was like, do you have an iPhone? Can you drop? He's like, I don't have an iPhone.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe for him.
Actually, Androids are cool, but it's hard because everyone. No, they are.
Don't engage him on this.
That might
Don't
be
support him.
That might be 3-2.
You might get
Am
another
I
vote.
invoking,
That might be 3-2.
Well, the adaptability and the things you can do with an Android, there's like so much more play than there is with an iPhone. But
Oh God, let's have this conversation.
but
Might as well.
But I can't because I like my FaceTime. I like
Sure. But here's the question.
You're like yeah.
Here's the question. Do you care if a guy has a green bubble?
No, because I actually think Androids are cool, and some of the smartest people have Androids.
Oh my God!
I've never met a single smart person in my
Only
life.
Only if I could take this mic off and drop it on the ground right now.
There are a lot of scammers who are really smart. It takes a lot of mental intelligence to scam.
It is a lot of scammers,
yeah.
but it's a lot of like IT people, software people, like people in that field because
they live in
they're
third world countries. Like, you're saying in America?
No, third world countries. They're a little bit behind. They all have like iPhone 7s and not like it depends on what country we're talking about.
Okay, first of all, Android is an operating system, so we're talking about specifically. So equivalent to an iPhone would be either a Samsung or like a Google phone, but I would say Samsung is probably most superior as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. So Samsung operating system, Android, iPhone OS. Okay. So when we talk about Android, you have to be specific that we're talking about Samsung.
Whatever has the green
more expensive.
Whatever has the green bubbles.
More expensive. Actually, I sent you a screenshot. Did you see the screenshot I sent you today?
No, I haven't seen
about how the new iPhone that's coming out in a couple of days is going to have, and wait for it,
the USB-C.
Thank you.
I'm so ready for it.
The same charging port as all the other Android phones.
Well, they're only doing that because they're being forced to.
I'm pretty sure Android phones have the weird like trapezoid. Don't they have the trapezoid?
What you have on your computer right now, that's
USB-C.
the same thing you're going to have on your iPhone.
Oh, that's great.
And honestly, it's about time. It's about time.
Is it perfect? Because Android phones have had it for a very long time.
I don't think that's true. Every Android that I know has a trapezoid. It's like the trapezoid one.
They had like
Zach,
the old.
All my phones charge the same.
They stopped trapezoids like 4 to 5 years ago.
That phone is 4 years old.
I've never seen an Android phone with that or good camera quality.
I literally charged my phone with your computer charger.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's a new thing.
It's getting salty here. Let's bring it back. Okay, so the thing with if a guy, to answer your question, is it a red flag or whatever you asked to a girl? I think a lot of girls, they're not. I don't want to say they're not smart enough, but a lot of girls, they might assume that, like, oh, this guy, why does he have an Android? But if you know, you know. And I know that Androids are actually really cool. So the thing is, it doesn't matter what other people think. If a girl's going to assume that about you, you don't want to be seeing her anyways. You want a girl that knows, and because if you know, you know.
Because if you're smart and the girl is smart, you recognize the smartness.
So he's like, so it's actually his own vetting process. It's like an inherent vetting process. So in life, it's all about having a positive outlook. So it's perfect. It's perfect for him. It works for him. So I might think honestly, I don't think it's a red flag at all. Like if I see the green bubble, because I know, but there certainly are some people that may have an Android because they're broke. But honestly, no, because so old iPhones, like if you really wanted an iPhone, like iPhone 8, iPhone 10 is so cheap. So I would never think that. Me personally, but all these like bougie LA girls, they might think that. You guys are like trapped in like the worst bubble for dating. like the best selection for beauty, but the worst selection for like female personality and value, in my opinion.
Well, I showed him a video today where Androids are now able to have iMessage. There's like 2 ways to do it.
The iMessage app somehow and like hack their way.
That's so
typical
desperate.
Android fashion.
No, literally
hack their way into the put a virus in so then they can iMessage people with a blue bubble. Typical Android fashion.
But here's the thing.
Literally.
Here's the thing. I'm going to have it all.
I'm dead. I'd say for me, it's like my Apple Watch. It's like the connectability between the other Apple products. I hate that Apple has a little bit of a monopoly over the tech, phone industry, whatever. I hate that because I love like free market competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way the consumer gets the least screwed over. And Apple royally screws people over. Every app in the App Store, I think they have to pay Apple like 20%. That's
I think
what
it's 30.
That,
I think it's 30.
30%. That is why ChatGPT doesn't have an app, because they're like, screw you, Apple. We're not paying you 30%. People are going to have to go to our website if they want to use it. And honestly, that's fair. 30%. That's almost as much as like that's like what we pay in taxes, which is also rape. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember when we went to war with Great Britain over a 1%, might have been a 2% tax? We went to war. We dumped all their tea in the harbor over a 2% tax.
That's a good point.
And now we're getting taxed 20 to 40%.
With California, like 50, if you include the California
And we're just getting casually raped and no one's saying anything about it. Let's go to war because it's not okay.
I need to get a Glock.
Shit got dark real quick.
Burn the Capitol. Burn it.
Oh God, we don't need to do that again. That didn't end very well.
You have been absolutely amazing. Really appreciate you coming on the show. We're gonna have to have you on sometime again.
I got a lot of shit to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
We gotta have the politics.
Yeah, no, I cuss all the time.
I gotta
be
careful.
Yeah, you do.
You said you're leaving town or something, right?
Yeah, I'm going to Florida on the 12th for 2 weeks. I'll be back on the 27th, but I'm only because I'm walking in OC Fashion Week. Then I'm free after that. So I think like the first week of October, I'll be free.
Cool. We'll talk. We'll figure it out. Thanks so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Peace.